Good evening. Welcome to the Infrastructure Oversight Board, March 26, 2026. We are broadcasting on Burbank TV and on YouTube channel, correct? And viewers can comment by phone calling 818-238-3335. Let's start with the first order of the business, flag salute. All right, let's do a roll call.
Armin Abazian,
Present.
Maria Coronado,
Present.
Marcus Davis,
Present.
Dwayne Gilmore,
Present.
Colin Hoffmeister,
Here.
Lori Stearns,
Present.
Shane Weber.
Here.
All right, next item, announcements. Do we have any announcements?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Oh. All right, I think we have a new board member, Mr. Davis, Marcus Davis. Do you want to do an introduction? I thought like staff has.
Yeah, my name is Marcus Davis. Thank you guys for adding me to the board here. Look forward to meeting with all of you more in the future and getting to know everyone. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for an introduction. Welcome on board, Mr. Davis. Let's go next item, public comments. Do we have any public comments?
No public comment at this time.
All right, let's go to consent item, approval of minutes of the IOB meeting held on January 22, 2026.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Maria Coronado,
Yes.
Marcus Davis,
Yes.
Colin Hoffmeister,
Here.
Lori Stearns, Shane Weber,
Yes.
Dwayne Gilmore,
Yes.
Armin Abazian.
Yes,
Motion approved, 7-0.
thank you. Let's move to item G, reports to the board, fiscal year 2026-2027 capital improvement program projects presentation.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to set up. Give me 1 minute, please. Good evening, everyone. I'm Damian Skinner. I am your Public Works Director, and tonight I'm going to present the capital improvement program for next fiscal year, 2026-27. This presentation is a summary of the materials you have before you, and I have staff available to answer questions as I go through this presentation. I have our City Engineer, LaFon Chu, our Parks and Recreation Director, Marissa Garcia, and our Assistant Community Development Director, David Krisky. So I'm going to briefly go over our approach to preparing the CIP, as well as our ongoing projects, which are projects that were previously approved but need additional funding to advance. And I'm also going to go over our new projects. So our approach to the CIP was simple. We wanted to put together a program that we believe was achievable with our constrained project management bandwidth, the bandwidth in our city attorney's office, as well as purchasing. So we worked with our department heads to come up with a program that met their needs as well as fit our limited bandwidth. So what I will present is a program that has been vetted by our executive team. So our ongoing projects. So I'm going to kick things off with a bang with our new Central Library Civic Center. We're looking at $11 million for this project. What you see here is a pre-designed concept of the library in a blue building, the gray parking structure, and the green kind of faded area is the Civic Center Plaza area. That's going to be a multi-use area. We have the Community Services Building fountain repair. If you are familiar with the Community Services Building, this is at the corner of 3rd and Orange Grove. We already have design dollars for this, so this money is to restore this fountain. Yeah, it leaked heavily, and potentially plumb it to recycled water. Exhaust system modernization in the amount of $950,000. And please stop me if anything I say you have a question. I'm willing for this to be an organic discussion. But $950,000, and what this project does is it removes diesel fuels, carbon monoxide from vehicles in the maintenance bays and fire stations. And the infrastructure is aging, so this is going to modernize it. As a matter of fact, if you look at this picture, you'll see that yellow hose. That's a Plymouth vent. It's connected to the exhaust of that fire station. Fire truck. We have our underground fuel system replacement at various facilities in the amount of $950,000. Pictured here is the removal of Fire Station 12's underground storage tank. That tank is very old, it became compromised, so we removed it before it was a danger to the environment. We removed 2 of these tanks at Fire 12 and 16, but since then we've had other tanks of the same vintage, so to speak, that also developed issues, so this CIP was expanded to include repairing those other tanks. We are also modernizing our fuel system dispensing system with new software and dispensers in the amount of $200,000 to complete that project. This is the McCain Bridge Central Kitchen. It's a commercial kitchen that's, I believe, circa 1950s. It was previously, funds were previously budgeted for its design. This $1.6 million would take it into construction. This kitchen is heavily used by about 10,000 meals per month, and it provides a service that our seniors rely on. We have our multi-facility security upgrades in the amount of $200,000 here. Pictured in this picture, you'll see the recently completed CSP security project upgrades that we did to enhance security in our CSP building. This project is going to enhance security at other facilities by adding badge readers for better access control, more lighting, and other security improvements. We have our multiple roof repair and restoration. This project was recently bid, award, and council approved. We have a contractor on board, and it's going to replace or restore roofs at various park facilities. We're adding an extra $250,000 here as contingency in case we encounter any hazardous material in the process. So that any of that material will have to be abated. We have a vehicle lift equipment modernization. This is one of our fleet bays in the amount of $600,000. We're currently we're finishing the design process for this project. And these additional funds will get us through that and into construction. We have 14 bays. We're doing a couple at a time over several years, which will allow us to operate and still complete the project in a relatively quick manner. We have the Olive Bridge replacement. This is also in design. We're adding an extra $900,000 to this, and this is just to replace the Olive Bridge and provide and enhance it at the same time. We have the McCambridge stormwater capture in the amount of $1 million, and this is really for compliance with the Clean Water Act and National Pollution Discharge Elimination System. And it's going to, this project aims to replace the playground amenities, as well as install stormwater capture devices like swales and infiltration basins, et cetera, that basically capture stormwater before it goes into the storm drain and infiltrate. That water will go into the park, infiltrate, feed groundwater, and remove pollutants. Otherwise, that water would either go into the storm drains and out to the channel and pollute our ocean. So it's a good project, and this money will get us through design. We have the Chandler Bikeway extension in the amount of $2.3 million, and this is to extend the Chandler Bikeway towards the metro station. The Oliver Digo intersection improvements in the amount of $2 million. These improvements to enhance traffic flow, as well as to enhance the intersection in general with other improvements. The Dick Clark Dog Park in the amount of $620,000. And this is to design an off-leash dog park, which Marissa, I think I forget, I'm blanking exactly where this is at. Do you mind?
Good evening, board members. Marissa Garcia, Parks and Recreation Director. This dog park is located at Johnny Carson Park on the south side of the 134 freeway by Riverside Drive.
Thank you, Marissa. For some reason, my speaker notes are not showing up here, so. We have the McCambridge Pool Replacement Project in the amount of $15.6 million. And this is going to completely reimagine and renovate the pool, adding amenities and offices for park staff. The Olive Recreation Center and Theater Building Replacement. These are design dollars to upgrade the rec center itself, the theater, and some exterior restrooms located in the park. So that's it for the ongoing projects. Again, those are projects that were previously approved and need additional funding to move forward. Any questions on these projects? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to continuing on with the new projects. We have our 2027 annual street and sidewalk project repair. This is our continuing effort to restore our streets, sidewalks, curb and gutter, to improve our PCI throughout the city. We've really been doing good in this regard. And a couple years ago, we were targeting to hit a PCI of 70. A PCI, again, is Pavement Condition Index. And when you hit 70, you're in good shape. And we hit that number a couple years ago, and we continue to invest in our streets to continue to raise that number. We have our small capital improvement project. This is a $1.6 million. It's considered a new project, but we get this funding every year. And the intent of this is for planned and unplanned projects that are small, in dollar amount, but it still follows the normal capital process of designing and construction. And the typical projects here are like replacing a chiller or doing a control panel or electrical panel at one of our facilities. Yeah, you'd be surprised how many things fail when you have aging infrastructure. This is a interesting and somewhat innovative project Public Works is pursuing. So we're piloting a technology made by Beam, and what you see here is a solar panel that tracks with the sun. And beneath the solar panel is a very large battery that is used to charge vehicles. So it's a completely off-grid solution for EV charging. And in an emergency situation, that battery can also be used to charge other electronics. So we're purchasing one of these. We plan to put it in one of our park facilities. One, because we intend to buy electric vehicles for our parks, but also to showcase the city's commitment towards green infrastructure. So we plan to capitalize on the abundant sun we have in Burbank. We have the Buena Vista Library upgrades in the amount of $65,000. And this is really just to do some small improvements like flooring and reconfiguration of a teen center, et cetera. So basically making some improvements to better reflect how the library is used. We have the City Hall emergency generator in an amount of $100,000, and this is really to get us going with the design, and any funds left over will be used for construction. And the reason why it needs to be designed is because we have a new EOC going into the basement of City Hall, and in an emergency situation, we need to make sure we have enough load capacity for enough duration to run. So in an emergency situation, so we have to make sure this generator is right-sized. We are painting the Public Works yard. It's it has never been painted, and it's a large building, so the amount is large as well. It's $380,000. A good chunk of that is to abate hazardous material found in the paint. So, but it's going to give us a fresh building and a fresh look. We have the firefighter PPE contamination control and storage, an amount of $50,000, and this is really design money. Currently, this PPE or turnout uniforms are stored in the apparatus floor where the trucks are running, and it's not an ideal situation, and does not conform with how other fire stations are built. So the intent is to design an add-on to the fire station to include a new room to house this PPE. So these are design dollars. We have our PD Fire Headquarters elevator modernization in the amount of $750,000. This is to replace 3 aging elevators. And the reason why they need to be replaced is because they no longer make the parts for these elevators, and we are now at a point where we're buying used parts at a very high dollar amount. So we want to keep our safety people operating and not have their elevators be an obstacle. And while we're talking about safety, we also have the PD Fire Headquarters exterior painting. We'll just give the building a refresh in the amount of $220,000. Again, the facility is very large, and it's going to take a lot of labor and material to cover it. We're also modernizing the PD Fire Headquarters generator. This is an end-of-life generator, and while doing other projects, specifically the kitchen remodel, we learned that there's not sufficient outlets that are charged during an emergency situation. So we have to right-size the generator so that they have certain areas electrified that would provide them what they need in an emergency situation. So these are design dollars, and again, anything that's left over will go into construction. We have the PD Real-Time Intelligence Center for $700,000. And basically, this is equipment that will enhance our PD's capability to allow them to have a virtual presence in areas of the city where they don't have a physical presence. So it gives them the tools to better surveil the city. We have the downtown Metrolink station rehabilitation in the amount of $300,000. You may recall that we renovated the elevator. We did a waterproofing project. We completely modernized that, and that was completed last June. And now we're going to give the station itself the same treatment with fresh paint, a stucco repair, bathroom rehabilitation, the whole works. It's it's a complete disrepair, and it's not the impression we want to give visitors coming into Burbank on the rail. So our aim is to refresh it to match the newly renovated elevator. We have the downtown mobility hub. I may ask Mr. Kriske to to chime in on this.
Thank you, board members. My name is David Kriske, Assistant Community Development Director. The purpose of this project is to construct a quick build series of improvements to improve connectivity between all the modes of transit that interact in downtown Burbank, particularly at Olive and First Street. This is also a project that we'd like to get in place ahead of the Olympics in 2028. And the idea is to add amenities and connectivity for folks coming from the Metrolink station to downtown, from all the buses on First Street into downtown, and anyone riding a bicycle on all of the bike network that's converging in downtown to provide wayfinding amenities, open space recreation, and other means to get people to downtown Burbank.
Thank you, David. The next project is the Earth Walk Park Playground replacement. Basically, this equipment has reached the end of its useful life, and this amount of $716,000 will be to replace the playground equipment. Anything else you want to say there? No, good. We have the IT room conversion in the amount of $585,000. This is located in the basement of City Hall. The IT service or the server room has been relocated. So this space is now going to be repurposed for office space and other storage that the IT department needs. So enhanced capability for that team. So that actually included all the new projects. So just summing up things a bit. So our ongoing projects were about at 40 million. New projects were at 11.5 million, rounded up, for a total CIP about 51.5 million. And something I want to note about the ongoing projects, it's a large amount, but it just goes to show that these projects are moving forward. A lot of them are going past design and into construction, so you see the larger dollars. We also have our continued projects that you previously approved, but they are also moving forward. But you didn't see them today because, again, they were previously approved and they don't need additional funding. Any questions? Okay. So that concludes my presentation. We're available for any thoughts or ideas you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Skinner, for the presentation. We'll open the questions to the board members. Start, Mr. Weber.
Thank you, Director Skinner, for your presentation. I've got a couple of questions regarding the fire department PPE room upgrade. I understand that that's design funding currently. You'd mentioned that would be a room addition. Is that going to be at each of the city's fire department fire stations, or is that going to be just at the headquarters? Yes,
at the fire stations themselves, yes.
Okay, so at all of them.
Not all of them. They're starting off with 2.
Okay.
They're all, not every fire station is equal, so to speak. They're
Okay.
different sizes with different amenities. So there are 2 in particular where this problem is really bad. So these are design dollars for 2.
Okay, so then presumably there's going to be anticipated future construction costs for 2 new rooms, at least at 2 separate stations.
Absolutely.
Okay. For the PD surveillance, that's what I wrote down. I don't think that's what the name was on here. What does that encompass?
Well, I'll do my best to speak for the PD, but the Real-Time Intelligence Center is something that the safety world is moving towards that provides it's a new room that provides enhanced capability to have a virtual presence in certain areas of the city where they don't have, where cops are not present. So it's giving them situational awareness in areas that they're not in. And they're leveraging our traffic cameras to do that.
Okay, yeah, that was my question. If they're going to be using existing city infrastructure, or is there going to be new work that's going to have to go on?
I understand they're leveraging our existing city infrastructure.
Okay, understood. And then the downtown mobility hub, the illustration shown to me looked like a big conflict zone. There was a bike lane, there was a bus stop stopping in the bike lane. There appeared to be a zip car, I don't know what that is, but a parking area where I imagine there's going to be some frequency of coming and going. So I'm just wondering if, and I assume this is in the design phase, so I'm wondering if that's just for illustrative purposes, or do we anticipate having all those different modes of traffic conflicting like that?
Well, first of all, I apologize. That's me taking creative license. And it was my poor attempt to show all the modes of transportation, because I think mobility hub, and I found a picture to represent it. But if Mr. Krisky would like to add on to that.
Sure, yes. Is not necessarily an incorrect illustration purpose or illustration of that, but it is conceptual. We, in fact, do have several modes that interact there today at the corner of First and Olive, and we'll have even more modes in the future. We have probably the highest corridor of local buses go on First Street today. We have probably the highest amount of pedestrian trips crossing I-5, going across the Outlet Bridge from the Metrolink station. We are going to be having raised protected bike lanes installed on First Street. That's a project that doesn't need funding this year, but will be going into construction probably the end of this fiscal year or beginning of next fiscal year, and then all of the existing pedestrian activity that occurs in the downtown. We plan to utilize this opportunity to install something that's kind of a quick build, low cost, easily implemented series of amenities, and utilize a small city parking lot right there at the corner of First and Olive, which is right next to one of the major bus stops and the street intersections. And the idea, again, we're in the very early conceptual stages, but the idea is to make it much more friendly for folks to get across from the Metrolink station into downtown, and also to help people when they get off the bus at Olive and First to kind of know where all the action is in downtown Burbank. Again, particularly the main purpose of this is to get this installed before the 28 Olympic Games. So we do, however, plan to use city property right next to the street, not necessarily in the street. The other good thing about this project is we have a placeholder amount here, but we're working with the Southern California Association of Governments, who has shown an interest in funding this. So we could be offsetting this with outside grant funds.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for the explanation. I appreciate it. That's it for me.
Thank you for your questions. Any other board members have any questions? Yes.
Yeah, I just had a general comment about the bike lanes in the different parts of the city. I've seen more and more come about, and I'm a biker. I like to see that, and I'm just curious if there's any data on, are these bike lanes increasing bike traffic, and is it increasing the safety? I mean, it may be very difficult to track that, but I imagine over time there might be. I've read articles in different parts of the country where, in some cities this has been a success, and other cities they're starting to undo it because it's created more problems.
Yes, thank you for the question. I don't have at my fingertips kind of the numbers of cyclist increases or not. I mean, we are unfortunately moving against, or trying to move against, a headwind of increasing concern over roadway safety, and that someone who would consider riding their bike 10 or 15 years ago in the street may not want to do that today. And in response to that, our infrastructure that we're focusing on since the City Council's adoption of our Complete Streets Plan in 2020 has been that if we're going to install bike infrastructure, we're going to do it more in a more comprehensive way with more safety. So what could have worked 15 years ago was just a striped bike lane. Today, we're trying to install things that are protected from traffic, and we are doing it in a a large, comprehensive way, such as extending Chandler. That's a big capital project, pretty expensive, but also fully protected. We're also trying to do that on a cheaper basis by protecting bike facilities in the street and not necessarily moving curb and gutter. So a good example is the cycle track we installed on Front Street about a year and a half, 2 years ago, between First Street and Verdugo, around the corner on Front to the Metrolink station. So it's in street, but it's separated from cars with paint and bollards, and then at the curb there, it's actually a K-rail. And so the idea is that the things we're putting in today are going to see that minimal level of protection versus just a striped bike lane, which now we may only consider that on like a slower, more residential street. But things like First Street, we're going to be putting protected facilities. And I think that the City Council's commitment to looking at a more network, holistic approach with the Complete Streets plan, I think as we start to build out the system, you'll get an exponential increase in the use. But we still have a lot of gaps to close. I would say the Chandler extension and getting that to the Metrolink station and connecting it to our Burbank Channel Bikeway and our San Fernando Bikeway and our downtown bikeways, that'll be a link where I think we'll see kind of to flip the switch when we start closing these important gaps and start seeing a lot of usage.
And just to follow up, I mean, I imagine there's a lot of challenges in a growing city and maintaining a city and lots of cars. So I think it's great to hear that there's going to be a lot of safety measures, because what I've read in some cities, they're just kind of narrowing the lanes and it's not really making it safer for bikers. So that's great to hear. I really like to hear that the Chandler bike path is going to be increased, because that feels like a very safe and family-friendly for all different ages. So that's fantastic. My only other question was, I'm a big dog lover, is curious when the Dick Clark Dog Park, I've seen it looked like it was going full guns for a while, and it's been sitting, and I'm just curious when that's going to get started.
Good evening again, Marissa Garcia, Parks and Recreation Director. That's a very good question. For those that may not know, that portion of Johnny Carson Park is part of the Griffith Park Trust. Which requires our lease with the city. We have a lease with the City of Los Angeles, and so there's some approval requirements that we had to go through with the City of Los Angeles. So the biggest delay was getting the actual project through the Department of Los Angeles Water and Power. That process took 3 years. Which I'm told was actually pretty quick. 5 years is their average. So I'm happy to share that we finally got through that approval process. We have one more process through Los Angeles Department of Recreation and Parks, which should be in the next month or so. We have to bring the project as well as our lease agreement to their commission, for their park commission, for approval. But the park is fully designed, fully approved. We have everything ready to go. It's just a couple of these approval processes with the City of Los Angeles. It is, I can't, because I've said this for the last couple of years, I was really excited to have a groundbreaking last year and opening by the end of the 25, which did not happen. I'm a little bit more confident that we will have for sure a groundbreaking this year. Cross my fingers that we can get the project constructed, but we are literally, the bid package is ready to go. It's just a matter of once we get those approvals, we plug in some dates on that bid package and we go out to bid. Yes, so we're all excited, and you will all be invited to our ribbon cutting ceremony.
Yeah, I'll bring my dogs too. Yeah. Just backtracking, Director Krisky, on the, you mentioned the Complete Streets plan from 2020 a couple of times. Can you just step us through how projects go from that plan and end up onto the capital plan? Like, how we doing with all of that?
Good, thank you. That's a good question. So the Complete Our Streets plan had a series of policies and guidelines for how we generally plan our streets, and a big part of that was also the policies we impose when the private development realm comes into the city and does larger projects that require street improvements. It talks about the new guidelines we apply to that. But it also identified a series of short, mid, and long-term capital projects to be constructed. And when it was adopted in 2020, the city council actually asked us to advance a handful of those, which some have been completed, like the Front Street Cycle Track I mentioned, some pedestrian improvements in downtown Burbank, some were as an early project that we've completed, and the other project I mentioned, the First Street Protected Bike Lanes, is another project that's going to be going into construction very soon. So we have been tackling the projects that the city council asked us to implement when they adopted the plan, and now we are moving into kind of the next series of projects in some of the planning and design stage. So we've been trying to methodically go through that plan. We've actually at least have in construction or design the short-term projects. Pretty much all of them are accounted for, and so now we're starting to look at the midterm projects to see what we should recommend to you and to the city council to move next. The problem is that the midterm projects, and especially the long-term projects, are a little more aspirational, so they're a little bit more capital intensive and planning intensive. But yeah, we are trying to go the good way to do municipal infrastructure is to start with the policy and plan, the projects, the prioritization, and then moving into design and into construction.
Thank you. It's such a great body of work. Be great to see it out on the streets, so keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gilmore. Mr. Hoffmeister. Any other questions from board members? I have a couple of questions and comments. We received this first comment I have. We received this report Tuesday this week, and I know it takes a lot of time for staff to prepare the whole report. We need a little bit more time to go over the report for review. We appreciate if you can give us a little bit early on time to have a couple more hours we can spend on absorbing and digesting the data. The second comment I have, I'm trying to, and I'm wearing reading glasses. This page is very little to be able to read. Can you give us a little bit like standard size so we can read it? I have a few questions on top. I'm looking at this report. There is about $5.3 million gas tax allocation for our roadways and sidewalk. Do you think that will be enough to maintain our PCI for next year?
This is Defan Shu, city engineer. So yes, because we have a backlog of road project we need to get through. We have about $25 million worth of road project we need to just get off our backlog. So this is just adding on top of it. A lot of it has to do with resources into the staffing, as well as other process. So in terms of coordinating with other utility, so it's a little bit deceptive that you see only $5 million adding to this year, but we have so much more we needed to do, and so there's no doubt the PCI will go up in the short term once we get everything done.
Okay, thank you. McCambridge project. Can you give us some status, what's going on with that? I know we have about $17 million right now set aside for this. How's the project going on?
There's several McCambridge Park
McCambridge pool.
The pool. Okay, sorry, I did not understand that. So the project is actually in design, and we are planning, if memory serves correctly, the design will be completed by the end of this calendar year, so we can go out to bid in early 26, I believe, first quarter of 2026. I'm sorry, 27. Thank you, LaFon. 2027.
And the amount of the funds that we have, you estimate it's going to be enough for construction for next fiscal year?
Yes, we have worked closely with our financial services department, our architect, and we are confident that we can fully fund that project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Olive Recreation Projects, there is $115.9 million for the fiscal year 27-28. What's the plan for this $115 million?
That's a very good question. We're internally working through a funding plan for that project. I think that was just put on as a placeholder. That project is also in design, and we would be, that was our forecast as the earliest that we would be able to go out to bid and award the project. That's not to say that that's what's going to happen. We're still working through that funding plan for that project.
Thank you. There were a discussion a while back, a couple years ago, about the project in Hollywood Piano. Is there any update on that project?
Yeah, I think we were, the project is still being evaluated because the amount of funding needed to bring that project up to par or what it needs to be to function as a homeless solutions center is not there, and as well as the ongoing operating cost. So right now there's not enough funding to do that, so it's being reevaluated.
Thank you.
If I could add, I believe that is going to be presented to the City Council either on April 7th or April 21st. I don't recall the date, but it'll be one of the next two council meetings where that project will be presented to City Council.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marissa.
And one more project that I didn't see on the list is the Public Works Maintenance Yard upgrade. What's the status on this project?
Yeah, the city yard services building project. Yes, we are pivoting. That project was to restore or repair some dilapidated buildings and do a lot of improvements that will enhance our functionality. Other opportunities have come up that allowed us to acquire some property. So that CIP was defunded to do just that. But in the bigger picture is that once that property has been acquired, it will give us an opportunity to really look at the city yard itself and plan something that takes into account the additional space and design something that's going to be truly functional for the operation, not only today but tomorrow.
So the fund's going to go back to the fund balance, or you're going to hold it, reserve it for the future project?
It always goes back to the fund balance. But as soon as the project is ready to go, we'll request it and we'll have it.
Thank you. Regarding Dick Clark Dog Park, I remember or maybe I'm remembering it not clearly, from last budget season, this project was fully funded to complete. Can you explain what's this $620,000 extra additional request?
Yes, the $620,000 additional is due to the delay in approval. So the project was fully funded, we felt, but since it's been delayed a bit, the costs have just gone up.
And this is to fund only for construction, or you have some reserve for construction and it's just to cover whatever we are short?
That is to make the project whole, the entire construction costs for that project.
Thank you. And a couple of more questions, bear with me. There were a couple of projects, looking at the scoring sheet. They were completion date fiscal year 25-26 or December of 2025, mainly Dick Clark Dog Park and roof repair. So I just want to make sure those are a typo mistake probably, correct?
The multi-roof repair?
Page 20 and page 14, the scoring, the budget sheets.
Well, I can mention that the multi-roof project, that was advertised and awarded by the City Council to a contractor. The notice to proceed has already been issued, and that project is underway.
Thank you. And one thing that was kind of hard for me to understand, some of the columns here in the page 6, that's the fund balance, are negative, like Prop C in the projected fiscal year or like remaining funds, are these deficits, or is there any explanation why some of these funds are negative?
I cannot answer that question. Our finance director was unable to make it to this meeting, so if you want to table that question to the next meeting, we can certainly do that.
This is Lifan. So I'm looking at it. I think a lot of it has to do with accounting. So I believe the big one under Parks and 127, I think it's a accounting issue. That's what I remember the finance director mentioned, but I don't have the detail. And the measure M, I think it's just a projected. I don't think we'll actually end up with an actual negative. I think it's at least those two. I know it's more of an accounting issue instead of actual deficit. That's what my understanding.
Are we only talking about one line here, 105?
We're talking about 105, 107.
Oh, I see them now.
Parks at 127.
127, yeah, okay.
I was just trying to educate myself. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the Prop C, I think that is probably, I remember the finance director measures is a accounting issue. Maybe, David, you can.
Yes, thank you. So in general, the Prop C is the Proposition C local return. It's money we get from Metro from one of the half-cent sales taxes that are imposed on LA County. We get 4 of those sales taxes, A, C, R, and M. Proposition C is generally funds our transit services, our fixed route transit services, and a little bit of our Metrolink stations. So while I can't directly answer why the negative balance is there, I will say in general, we do spend very close in expenditures to the amount of revenue that we get from Metro. So we do, and we have been budgeting to account for increases in transit service. But that is a forecast also, and we have been making some funding changes in the background because we also use Measure R local return funds for transit, where we do have a large balance, and so we are kind of managing those two funds together so that we obviously don't go negative and that we kind of manage the transit service across both funds. So like the Measure R transportation shows quite a healthy balance. So what we do practically is we pay out of both of those funding sources.
Thank you. I don't have any other question. If there is no other questions or comments from board members. Yes, Mr. Gilmore.
Director Skinner, thank you for going through the presentation. And just looking at the CIP for coming up is, it's always pretty robust. So lucky we've got a good team to handle it. I know you're only relatively new to the role, so I'm sorry if I put you on the spot here, but what was the CIP last year and even better the year before that? Was it the same order of magnitude, or was it more or less? I don't remember.
If my memory serves it right, it's in the mid-30s, I believe. So this year we have a bit more because we have a couple of really big projects that's starting. One is the library project, and then the other one is the Olive Theater at the Cambridge Pool. So in the past, at least in the past few years, we don't have any project, even in terms of magnitude like that. So it's in the next, this is probably we'll see in the very short term, huge uptake in terms of annual expense. Is because those projects really gonna, especially once they get into construction, and that's when you see this number even goes up more in the short term, but that's mostly due to those large projects.
Okay.
I would like to add, that's really a really good sign to see the CIP going up like that. Because again, when you consider the process of, from inception, the concept, and then you go into pre-design, design, those are low dollar activities. But then when you get into construction and you're hiring folks to get the work done, that's when it really kicks up. So when you see an increasing CIP, you know we're doing good work.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Just going back to last year's CIP, that 30-ish number, is that actuals, or is this is what the CIP was last year? If you guys know the actuals, that'd be great.
Those, I would say, is budgeted, and
Right.
whether, the expense actually occurred, that really depends on the process of the project.
Yeah.
So some of it is, our director explained, in the beginning of the design planning process, you spend very little, but once you go into construction, you spend more. So, some of the projects are multi-year, or at least cross 2 years. So a lot of the budgeted expense last year is actually going to more like half of it is probably going to actually be spent this year. So that's how it usually works.
Yeah, but let me be very direct about my concerns. We're going from a CIP last year, which was order of magnitude 30 million, and the year ahead of us, we're looking at a CIP of 50 million. So that's an extra 20-ish that you guys have to deliver. That's a pretty significant shift, and I hear your message on. A lot of this is upfront work. A lot of this is design and planning and permits. I get it. However, after next year, there's a project on here that's got a $50 million budget on its own. The library has $50 million put aside for it. So, just kind of doing some rough math here, we're going from 30 million to 50 million, 70 million, plus a project that's got 50 million, right? So we're looking at $120 million that needs to get. This time next year, we're going to sit here and say, oh, 120 million, what was it last year? Oh my goodness, well, what happened? So I'm I'm exaggerating here because I'm hopeful that the city has the resources in place to be able to deliver on these projects. And this is going to be a pretty big strain on internal resources. It's also going to be a pretty, how should we say this? We're going to have a strong collaboration with industry partners. Procurement is going to be really stressed through all of this because as a public agency, we always need to sort of work our way through in a procedural way to make sure everything's fair, everything's good. The other reason I'm a little lit up about this is the Olympics are coming, and this is the best city in LA. So I want to make sure that we show up with everything really tight. So let me sort of synthesize into 1 or 2 points here. My first point is we seem to be making step changes in our CIP. I'd love to see, and perhaps this is something Director Becker could present to us next time. I'd love to see how good we've been on delivering on our CIPs in the past. And if the answer is we planned 30 and we delivered 20, okay, that's fine. At least we know what our capacity is. Next year, I don't want us to make a commitment for 50 and we only can be able to deliver 30. I think we need to calibrate a little bit on some of these projects. I'm not sure if that was a question. Maybe it was more of a comment, but over to you.
Well, your comment is well received, and I'll say this, that no one is more concerned about the financial plan of our CIP than our finance director and myself. So everything that moves forward, we're very cognizant of how we're going to deliver it, and we would not present something unless it's been fully baked. As far as making sure we deliver on projects that we're planning, when I started the presentation, I mentioned that we went through this whole process of working with the various departments because to only to present projects that we know we had the bandwidth to work on, which then required them to prioritize which projects they wanted to put forward and which projects they can wait for a year or two. And we looked at that through the lens of what can we really realistically deliver. And, we looked at our engineering team and all the project managers at Bear, and we came up with these projects. And that's why you see with a lot of our new projects, most of them are design. So we can get that design work done, and that's relatively simple. And then in the ongoing projects where we're adding money, that's where we're really spending the calories to get the construction going and deliver those projects. So we're being very thoughtful about how we use our very limited resource to deliver that. Because believe me, our finance director does not want to tie up money in CIPs that go nowhere. It's not fair to do that, because that money should be earning interest, doing other things. And it sends the wrong message that we're saying we're going to do something and don't deliver. So
Yeah.
that's where we're at.
Thank you for that, Director Skinner. It's I'm glad to hear that there's that level of attention going into this. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I want to add a little bit more to what our director said. So, there's a lot of points you just make and a lot to unpack there. So, but the main point is, one is finance, the other one is delivery, right? So in terms of finance, so this is, you're very good at reading between the lines. So in terms of, we are not, like what our director said, our finance director have all this, figure out before it's presented. So give you an example, using the library as an example. So even though the library is going to be a big cost, it will be, right now, our finance director is working to put a bond together that's going to be based on Measure P. So what that means is, in the short term, we may be spending a lot of money in a couple of years building the library. You got paid over by Measure P over time. So, and what that means is that naturally it will may impact the future ability to finance other projects. There got to be some give and take, but it's impossible for us to overspend, because we can only spend the fund that we have. So I think, think of it, buying a house. All of a sudden you buy a $700,000 house in 1 year, but you're paying it off in the next a couple of decades, right? So that's the way you look at it in terms of finance. And then the other one's on delivery. It's not the dollar amount, and as a project manager that I usually worry. It's much easier to do a $30 million project than do $31 million project. So it's the dollar amount only tells part of the story, but we'll definitely, that's why one of the focus this year for us is to finish what we already budgeted for. That's why you actually see a lot less new projects this year, because our focus is we want to finish what we already had on the book. So that is one of our main focus this year.
And thank you for that, Lufan. And I feel like we had the exact same conversation this time last year, honestly. And I'm not putting that in the pejorative. It's a good reminder. And I understand your point completely. Like having dispersed projects is a lot harder to manage than having one big one that you're controlling. I follow that logic all the way. If I may suggest just a couple of things in addition to the print size. With these projects that are, paused, or there's some elements of reconsideration in them, would it be possible to still have them on the list to actually show, where these might cash flow in future years? Because the need for the projects is not gone, but there's some details there. That was the first request, because I think, another one I had for the list, Mr. Chair, is the Starlight Bowl. We heard a lot about that, and there's no sign of it here as well. And I'm sure there's a good explanation. I really, really want to reemphasize and go back around to my point. And I'm even sort of considering requesting a separate meeting to address this. I really think we need to see what the city's performance has been like on forecasting and then delivering on a CIP. You know, again, did we forecast last year 30 million and we were only able to deliver 20? So that's one thing I would really like to see to prepare us for some of these big important projects coming up. And if I may offer just some thoughts on the approach you presented, Director Skinner, on how you kind of look at the projects, you look at what capacity you have. Just a little bit of my opinion on this. The way I would do it is to say, what does the city of Burbank need? What are our priorities? Okay, what's that picture look like? Does that match the workforce that we have? If the answer is no, then how do we augment city staff to be able to pick up that demand? Because like Lifan was mentioning earlier, I think that there's a baseline of projects that, it's not a project, it's a program. There's a program that happens in Burbank with sidewalk repairs and getting the pavements right and replacing generators and that kind of thing that we could probably forecast for the next 100 years here. And you could probably carry a staff that knows how to do this stuff and prepares for it. However, you get these spikes like the new library that are true CapEx projects that we really need to, they're once in a generation anomaly. So, we can kind of deal with those separately, but how that correlates to how many, people we have working within the city, I'm hoping we're not overworking people or pushing people outside their expertise or anything like that. That's really where I'm going with this, is making sure that we've got the right order of magnitude of people working for the city. And the last point I'll make on this too is understanding the flow of people that go through a city department. I mean, just looking at the profile of people who are retiring soon, there's probably a lot of people who are thinking about the next chapter of their lives and phasing out of the professional world. I know some directors looking at each other over there. So there's the attrition that comes from the cities, from any workplace that are very valuable people that have a lot of experience. And then there's maintaining our facilities so these places are desirable for this new generation of people to work in those jobs. So all that to say that I think the CIP's plans on repainting things and getting things looking good around the city is really money well spent, because it's encouragement and it's an investment in our city. Sorry, I meandered there a lot, but my point is, I really think that we need to make sure that we've got the right number of people for these commitments we have coming up.
Your point is well made. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
May I add a comment to Mr. Gilmore's? I remember when we started the IOB a few years ago, the list that was proposed projects had also some of the projects that they are either funding, but they don't have the resources, or vice versa. And the department was providing us like a red line. This is the capacity that we can deliver. Now, if there are other projects that the board can, or what is willing to move or wishing to recommend the council to move the priorities higher or lower, that was the time of the discussion we had. But then after a couple years, all the projects that was presented to the board were projects that's to the point that the staff can deliver, the department can deliver, and that was what we've been seeing for the past 2-3 years, I would say. Maybe to the referring to Mr. Gilmore's comment, also in the past we had when we were presented the CIP for the next fiscal year, we had all of our CIP projects, even if there were CIP projects that were funded and we were not asking for new funding, we got those as part of the CIP package. That way board members know, aside from 31 projects here, there are other 20, 25, I don't know the numbers right now, this is not presented here. That's why we were asking about Hollywood Piano, Public Works Yard, Starlight Bowl. maybe if you, in our separate meeting or additional, if you can provide information for the other projects that you have ongoing and you are not asking for new funding or no funding plan for next fiscal year, that will clear up some of our questions that we may have.
100% agree, Mr. Chair. I completely agree with that. And I think a lot of this stuff was shown on the finance report out that we saw last time. Not the CIP from last year, but the Director Becker showed us kind of a rundown of everything that happened. So I think it's a little bit more work on that.
Yeah, this presentation was focused on what's going to council. So this is all the funding requests that council will see. We're certainly happy to bring back kind of a status update of current projects that are, that are in process. But the focus of this presentation was basically that, what's council's going to see next month or the next 2 months. Yeah.
Thank you, Director Skinner. If there is no other questions or comments from board members, I think we can, do we have to make a motion or recommendations to the council?
For this one, I don't believe so.
Does the board have any comments about any particular project that the council should know about? Should consider?
I don't think there is any comment.
Marcus Davis here. I just want to say that I fully agree with what Chair Avazian and Vice Chair Gilmore, their sentiments. I think we got a partial answer on this, but I just wanted to ask, I'm seeing a lot of really great things here. How are we distinguishing between the must-do projects and those that can or could be deferred?
During the CIP preparation process, the various departments submit their CIP requests, and the Public Works Department goes through it. And then we work with each individual department that submitted a CIP request and talk about their needs. And then we talk about our bandwidth. And then we reconcile what has to be done based on their operation now and what can wait. So it's a pseudo negotiation, but it's really a coming to terms of what they're needed for their plans and operations to be successful and what we can deliver realistically. And then we come to an agreement. And we do that with each department, and then we meet as a group, as an executive team. We discuss as a group what was prioritized and what's being delayed, and we get concurrent at that meeting. From that point on, it's all packaged and summarized and brought here to the board for your consideration.
All right, any other questions, comments?
I have one more, actually. The city yard that was referred to earlier, is that the yard on Lake?
That's correct.
And there is a potential property acquisition on the horizon over there. Did I hear that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And is that a adjoining property that we share a property line with already?
Yes.
Are you able to share which property it is?
I don't think we can.
Okay. And so until that acquisition is ironed out, whether it happens or not, whatever project at the city yard is on hold.
Yes.
Okay. And then, I guess on the topic of property acquisition, I was just thinking about this. If the Dick Clark Dog Park project, for example, is going to see a $600,000 increase, I didn't realize that the city leased that property from the city of Los Angeles. Is there, and I'm thinking maybe because there's a Griffith Park component, the answer is no. But is there a way for the city of Burbank to acquire that property from the city of Los Angeles?
If I may answer that question, that's actually a really good question. The park itself is actually in the city of Burbank.
Okay.
It is, so Griffith Park, Griffith Park Trust was a big, many acres.
Yeah, I'm familiar
Which,
with it.
yes. So we would not be able to, the city of Los Angeles I don't know that the trust would allow them to sell. I mean, the land is ours, but it's under the trust, so
Right,
it's.
to release the,
Correct, yes. One thing I will, if I could mention, which it may or not be, prudent to this conversation or that question is, the $620,000 that we are requesting for this fiscal year is the only city funds, Measure P dollars that will be allocated to this project. We were able to secure, we have some sponsorship money, we have a grant and not Measure A. We have some others, I think park development money. So all of the money that we were able to kind of pull together for the dog park, we were hoping to not have to tap into any Measure P dollars because we know those are limited, very limited resources. So unfortunately, as I mentioned previously, because the project has been delayed and the costs have gone up, that is our ask. But in terms of acquiring the land, I don't know that would be something that would be feasible for this project in particular.
sure, okay. And presumably the delays can be attributed to the additional requirements maybe imposed on the property by the land trust or other regulators?
There were some additional requirements, but really just a delay, a 3-year delay. It's just the increase in cost, construction costs have gone up.
But what was the 3-year delay related to?
So the project had to be approved through the Department of Water and Power, LA Water and Power.
Okay.
So it goes through all of their divisions. They're a very big organization, also multiple competing interests in projects. While this is a priority project for the city of Burbank, and we were hoping it got moved quicker, it wasn't high on their priority.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, that's it, thank you.
So I think we can move to the next item, H, introduction of additional agenda items. Are there any introduction of additional items? None. Going over item I, future agenda items. Do we have any future agenda items mentioned for this stuff?
Well, based on what I heard today, I think we need to bring back the continuing projects, the projects that did not require additional funding, and provide a status update of what's going on there. I'll ask our finance director to come back and maybe better explain that financial worksheet that shows the different funding sources and balances. And clear up any questions that you may have on that.
Thank you, Mr. Skinner. So we'll go to
Can I-
adjournment.
Oh, I'm sorry. You nearly said adjournment. Sorry about that. It just to kind of, I guess, kick that around a little bit, Director Skinner, it would be great to get that information to the board prior to going to City Council with the CIP. I know it might not be amenable to sort of have another meeting in 2 weeks or what have you, but is there a way, I'm looking at you, Assistant City Attorney, to distribute this information to the board members without convening a meeting, or shall we get it in advance and have enough time to look at it before the next meeting? I'm not sure what the mechanics of getting that information disseminated is.
Yeah, I'm not particularly sure.
Actually, I think I could chime in here. We have another meeting in April, and I believe we're going to present the infrastructure presentation to the City Council in May.
Okay,
So you'll have an opportunity to weigh in prior to that
Great,
presentation.
great.
Yeah.
okay.
All right, we'll move to adjourn. Next meeting is April 23, 2026 at 6 p.m. Thank you all.